Good morning, everyone. I call to order this first meeting for the calendar year 20. Oh, good morning. Feisty little group here this morning. Must have a lot on the agenda. Well, good morning, everyone, and happy 2013. It's an honor to call the first meeting of the Public Utility Commission together for calendar year 2013. I hope everybody had a very safe and enjoyable holiday. And more importantly, we want to wish you all the best here in 2013. The first thing that we'll do here to kick off public meeting is I'd ask that you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first matter on this morning's agenda is the approval of the minutes of the December 5th meeting, and I believe, Vice Chairman Coleman, you are the editor of the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've reviewed the minutes of the December 5th, 2012 public meeting and move they be approved as submitted.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as submitted. It's a pleasure to welcome to the podium this morning to begin our public meeting Ms. Cheryl Walker-Davis. Good morning, Cheryl.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
May it please this honorable commission, on behalf of your various offices and bureaus, we present for your consideration and disposition the following agenda items, commencing this morning with matters on behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, Transportation Issues. It is recommended in omnibus fashion that the commission adopt all items appearing on pages 1, 2, 3, and 4, through and including the last item pertaining to the application of Auto Effects Motorsports to discontinue service.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously.
On behalf of the Bureau of Audits, continuing on page 5 of the agenda, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the 3 recommendations there pertaining to the release of audit reports on the smart meter technologies charges.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On behalf of the Office of Special Assistance, it is recommended that the Commission adopt all of the items appearing on pages 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, through and including the joint petition filed for interconnection with regard to the Consolidated Communications and Level 3 Communications proceeding.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, we recommend the adoption of the 3 items appearing on page 12 through and including the application of South Shore Trading and Distributors, Inc.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On page 13, we recommend the adoption of the staff recommendation with regard to the final implementation of PPL's long-term infrastructure plan, noting, Mr. Chairman, your joint statement with Commissioner Whitmer, as well as a separate statement of Commissioner Cawley.
So moved.
Second.
We'd like to have our joint statement entered into the record as if it read in its entirety. Before us this morning for consideration is the petition for approval of PPL's long-term infrastructure improvement plan, which is one of the requirements under Act 11. PPL conducted an asset optimization study back in 2008, which found that accelerated replacement of infrastructure is the most cost-effective strategy to address aging infrastructure and to ensure system reliability, as well as the overall integrity of the distribution system. We agree, and we applaud PPL and PPL management for being proactive in submitting their plan. I should note that if you look at the very successfully, in fact, nationally recognized water distribution improvement service charge, you will see the incremental gains made in the investment and the optimization of our water distribution systems here in the Commonwealth. I think it's the fact of the matter is we've seen a tremendous uptick in investment in water utility infrastructure here in the Commonwealth because of our water disk, and now we're looking forward to these opportunities for our gas and electric utilities here in the Commonwealth. Act 11 recognized the essential and integral nature of a comprehensive, I'll call this LTIP. I feel like I'm reliving my old Chamber of Commerce days with the Federal Highway Transportation Bill. We used to call it next T, iced tea. We're going to refer to this as LTIP. The LTIP with eligibility to recover costs through the use of a distribution system improvement charge. These plans must include the following. 1, identification of the types and age of the eligible property, a schedule for planned repair and replacement, the location of the property, an estimate of the quantity of the property to be improved, projected annual expenditures to implement the plan, and measures taken to ensure the cost effectiveness and the manner of the acceleration of the repair and replacement. Please note, I think it was this Commission's efforts to make it very clear to both the House and Senate as well as Governor Corbett that this initiative, this DISC initiative, is not to provide gold plating of the electric distribution system here in the Commonwealth. I think that was made very clear, and there were a number of safeguards put in this bill thanks to the leadership of this Commission and my colleagues. I think we have a young, aspiring commissioner out there in the audience. She votes, that young, aspiring commission is fully supportive of Act 11, I can tell. Well, additionally, PPL's LTIP includes a project prioritization process that optimizes their investment strategy here in the Commonwealth. The PPL plan goes a step further by implementing a procedure to routinely review the effectiveness of its LTIP programs. These two plan elements are just plain common sense in our view and should be replicated amongst our other utilities who will be filing with us their long-term infrastructure replacement plans. Along the lines of the common sense principle, we expect PPL and all the utilities to proactively coordinate their LTIP efforts with other utilities, municipalities, townships, and agencies to both minimize customer disruption and maximize cost mitigation where possible. And this year, my colleagues and I were honored to participate in an event in York County where it was Columbia Gas working jointly with York Water Company, and that collaboration where you had one asphalt contractor working with one trenching company, and I'll tell you what, it was a best practice we'd like to see replicated across the Commonwealth. In conclusion, the LTIPs are a critical component of the enhanced customer protections and safeguards included in Act 11 and a key first step in implementing rate-making tools that support the accelerated replacement of distribution infrastructure here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Now I'd like to recognize, for purposes of his statement, Commissioner Cawley. Commissioner Cawley, good morning.
Thank you, Chairman. I ask also that my statement be placed on the record as if I had read it in its entirety. Let me first commend PPL for being typically ahead of the curve. It began system improvements under its 5-year asset optimization strategy in 2010, and then this law went into effect, and it's required by the law to make it can make system improvements using a surcharge to help it recover its investments faster, and therefore it and other electric utilities are incented to make these improvements faster than they would otherwise be able to do them under the normal amounts of money that a utility has for capital improvements. And the documentation along with this petition indicates that investment will improve reliability beyond that which it is already maintaining, or I should say it does not indicate that reliability will be improved. It's going to maintain its reliability. I recognize that the law only requires that reliability be, quote, maintained. I think that's a standard that is more suited to the natural gas industry for reasons which I explain in my statement. But for electric distribution companies, I believe that they should strive to improve reliability, not simply maintain it. And therefore, I encourage PPL and other electric utilities to submit long-term infrastructure improvement plans that improve reliability as measured by our benchmarks and standards, and that improve service restoration timelines for major storm events. And I think only by doing that can electric customers be assured that they're getting a true value for the incremental cost increases that they're going to pay as these future distribution system improvements are made. So in simpler terms, I would say that for the electric industry, this should be a distribution improvement charge, not a distribution system maintenance charge. So rather grudgingly vote to support this order, and I encourage PPL to file plan updates that improve the reliability of its distribution system as it ramps up its expenditures.
Thank you, Commissioner Cawley. Any further discussion? Any objection? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously, noting the joint statement of Commissioner Whitmer, myself, along with the statement of Commissioner Cawley.
It is recommended that the Commission adopt the staff recommendation pertaining to the Pennsylvania American Water Company application to extend service to provide public water supply to XTO Energy's gas operations, noting, Mr. Chairman, your statement along with the statement of Commissioner Whitmer, the joint statement of you and Commissioner Whitmer.
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Whitmer for a presentation of our joint statement. Commissioner Whitmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like our joint statement to be entered into the record as if I'd read it in its entirety. Before the Commission today for consideration is a proposed order approving the application of a water line extension in portions of Summit Township, Butler County, for Pennsylvania American. In this case, Pennsylvania American has applied to extend service to provide public water supply to XTO Energy, which is a natural gas operator in the Marcellus region. This application presents compelling facts pointing to the economic and societal benefits of the water line extension. XTO will pay approximately $500,000 in support of the extension, which will afford 31 residential customers the opportunity to economically tie into a safe public water supply and provide fire protection through installation of fire hydrants where none currently exists. For its part, Pennsylvania American will begin receiving additional revenue from customers, with the bulk of capital costs being borne by a company with ties to Pennsylvania's burgeoning natural resources industry. We believe that approval of this application will assist in providing additional construction jobs, a source of clean and potable water for customers with wells of poor quality, a reduction in truck traffic as water is delivered via the pipeline, enhanced fire protection, and a positive financial impact for Pennsylvania American. These benefits should be highlighted by this Commission because they are exactly the types of two-first scenarios created by proper use of all of the Commonwealth's abundant resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Whitmer. And joining you in that statement, I just would echo another best practice around the development, the proper and development of the Marcellus Shale. And I also commend Kathy Pape and the management at PA American Water for their leadership. We also had a case with Range Resources, I believe a couple months ago, with Aqua, Pennsylvania, and their efforts. So again, I commend you, Commissioner Whitmer, in adopting this statement here this morning. I'm proud to join you as a co-sponsor of it. Any further discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously, noting the joint statement from Commissioner Whitmer and myself.
Continuing with matters on behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the staff recommendation at the bottom of page 13 pertaining to Fulton County's 911 contribution rate, as well as all items on page 14 through and including the recommendation pertaining to AUI Associates, Inc.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On behalf of the Law Bureau, commencing on page 15, we recommend the adoption of the item on page 15, as well as the two items on page 16 through and including Verizon North LLC's petition for a temporary exemption from certain regulations.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
And on behalf of the Office of Administrative Law Judge, with regard to the first item pertaining to Sue Christmas versus Pico Energy Company, there is Commissioner Gardner's motion.
Commissioner Cawley, did you have Yes, I did. Okay.
I wasn't fast enough. On the second item on page 16, I wish to be recorded as voting no, consistent with my earlier vote regarding a fine imposed on Verizon.
Okay, this will be noted. This is Verizon North LLC, page 16 of the agenda, and the vote is 4-1, noting the dissent of Commissioner Cawley.
And now turning to matters on behalf of the Office of Administrative Law Judge and the matter pertaining to Sue Christmas versus Pico Energy Company, there is the motion of Commissioner Gardner.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Gardner for purposes of his motion. Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like for my motion to be entered into the record as if read in its entirety, and I beg the audience to be patient with my extended comments this morning. Ms. Christmas filed an informal complaint against seeking a commission-issued payment arrangement, which was granted on December 8, 2008, by the Commission's Bureau of Consumer Services. At this time, Ms. Christmas' outstanding balance was $4,193. PICO terminated Ms. Christmas' service on November 10, 2010, due to non-payment of a total past due balance of more than $6,000. At this time, Ms. Christmas filed a formal complaint. The ALJ determined that in 2009, PICO provided unreasonable service to Ms. Christmas because the company conditioned the commission-established payment arrangement upon the payment of the currently due charges. The ALJ assessment of a civil penalty was $1,000 based in part upon this finding. I do not agree with the finding in this initial decision that PICO should be fined for deeming Ms. Christmas in default of the payment arrangement before the due date of the agreement. A utility may terminate service when a customer fails to pay the undisputed portion of a bill that is not subject to a commission-issued payment arrangement. However, this does not mean that a utility can deem a customer in default of a commission-issued payment arrangement when a customer fails the undisputed portion of the bill. So in this regard, PICO's actions were definitely improper, but they were not unreasonable and do not warrant a fine. Regarding the ALJ's determination that PICO's billing format was difficult to follow, a similar issue was addressed in Laura Mace versus PICO. Pursuant to that order, PICO worked with the Bureau of Consumer Services to develop a billing format which complies with the Commission's plain language policy statement on billing. PICO implemented this billing change in January of 2012, which is after the billing period Ms. Christmas contest. The Commission should not fine PICO at this time since it has worked with BCS to improve the clarity of its bill. The ALJ also determined that PICO failed to provide adequate service because PICO did not contact Ms. Christmas to request access to the meter before PICO dug up her yard to install an underground splice box. The ALJ assessed a civil penalty of $500 and required the company to refund $1,500 in reconnection charges. And I refer you back to my original first two paragraphs, which state that in December of 2008, Ms. Christmas owed a balance of $4,100, and at the time that she was terminated, her balance had increased to over $6,000. I do not agree with the finding in the initial decision that PICO failed to provide Ms. Christmas with reasonable service. PICO made multiple attempts to contact Ms. Christmas. The record makes that very clear. In addition, Ms. Christmas received a number of 10-day termination notice, which clearly stated that there was a potential charge of about $1,650 associated with the underground reconnection. Despite this knowledge, Ms. Christmas did not make PICO's facility available to the company. It is not appropriate to assess a civil penalty of $500 or require reimbursement of the excavation expenses because PICO complied with both Commission regulation regarding termination and its commission-approved tariff for underground reconnection service. Utilities have an obligation to ratepayers to prevent the accumulation of large arrearage for which utilities may never receive payment. As such, PECO took appropriate action to terminate the service. Finally, I note that Ms. Christmas claimed that PECO did not restore her yard after the company installed the shutoff switch. Although there is insufficient evidence on the record to make a determination regarding yard restoration in this case, I do note that reasonable service requires restoration of a customer's property to a condition similar to that under which the utility found it. Therefore, I move that the initial decision be modified consistent with this motion, and the Office of Special Assistance prepare an opinion in order consistent with this motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
In omnibus fashion, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendations, the remaining recommendations on page 17, as well as the first two Office of Administrative Law Judge recommendations appearing on page 18 through and including the NRG Energy Center steam cost rate 1307E filing.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
We recommend the adoption of Judge Barnes' initial decision in the proceeding involving Taiwan 2 versus Philadelphia Gas Works, noting the statement of Commissioner Gardner.
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Gardner for purposes of his statement. Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just would prefer that my statement be entered into the record as if I read it in its entirety. And I'll just remind Philadelphia Gas Works that it must continue to do rigorous outreach to its constituents in the city of Philadelphia regarding its practice of placing liens on commercial properties, and that having people be aware of their program is in everybody's best interest.
I would echo that as well. Any further discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously, noting the statement of Commissioner Gardner.
That concludes the presentation of regular agenda items. Turning now to the carrying agenda, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendation on behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services pertaining to the application of Just Energy Pennsylvania.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
And now turning to the supplemental carry-in agenda, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendation on behalf of the Office of Special Assistance with regard to the petition for reconsideration in the proceeding involving Mary Jensen versus PECO Energy.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, that does conclude the presentation of agenda items.
Before we adjourn, I believe we have three items. One, I see Darren Gill in the audience. I believe we'll reconvene here today. Is it 1 p.m., Darren? 1:30 here in Hearing Room 1 for our Hurricane Sandy hearing. I also want to note for everybody the location for the February 14th public meeting, the February 28th public meeting, and the March 14th public meeting will be relocated to the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board hearing room. And for those of you who are not familiar with that location, it's in Strawberry Square on the second floor. And I know we'll report that also on our website.